Welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Evie. I'm super excited to be here and I'm going through a bit of an expansion at the moment. So this is the first time I am filming this as well as recording this for my Apple podcast and then also being able to upload it onto YouTube as well because I'm really loving being on there at the moment. So welcome to another episode. Ultimately, we are discussing the fundamentals of energy and shifting your energy and shifting your frequency to align with a higher version of you, a higher reality. And the key to this is remembering that it's actually no highest version of you because there's infinity, right? There's infinite versions of you. There's infinite timelines. There's infinite realities. So there's no I get to the very highest point and that's fixed. There's going to always be a new expression of yourself that you are able to uncover and discover. And so I really want to drive this in, and it's that you are never stuck. You are never stuck. And actually, if you feel stuck, it's an opportunity. It's a blessing. If you feel stuck, it is a blessing because it means that there is a new vibrational frequency available to you and the universe is guiding you to step forth into it. So instead of feeling stuck and fixating on that, because by the way, complaining about feeling stuck or complaining about everything that's going wrong in your life is really just driving in the fact and solidifying the fact that everything is going wrong in your life. You will get nowhere if you are in a victim mindset, if you are in victim consciousness, if you are in the vibration of everything is happening to me, everything sucks, I suck, of course this is happening to me, then absolutely that is the reality that you are going to experience because that is how powerful you are, that you are creating the experience that you are having. What you need to understand when it comes to shifting your vibrational frequency and creating a new experience is that reality is following you. You're not following reality. Okay? Took me a minute to find my words there. So when you are constantly sending out these signals, you feel stuck and you're constantly sending out these signals that everything is going wrong or really focusing on the negative, that is where your awareness goes. Energy flows where your awareness is going. And this is why self-awareness is so important because you need to understand where within you these things are coming from. Because manifestation and creating your reality is all well and good, but if you are not doing the inner work to match it, then you're never going to be able to actually hold the things that you want. You're never going to be able to make the shift. So if you're complaining about everything, reality is following that signal, right? Reality is following that perspective. That's all that you're going to see because that is what you are limiting your perspective to. Because limitations are I always see the analogy of an anaconda or a python or something like that, right? It's essentially an energy that's wrapping itself around you and it's constricting you. It's constricting your vision. It's constricting your breath. It's constricting your life force energy. When you are operating from fear-based consciousness and victim-based consciousness, you are operating from a space of constriction. You are not operating from a space of expansion. Therefore, that's all you're going to be able to see because you see from the frequency in which you are vibrating at. You see from the state of your inner world. That is the core piece that you need to understand when it comes to shifting your vibrational frequency is that your experience and your perspective, what you see is a manifestation of your own consciousness, of your own awareness. And if you have a python, aka a limiting belief, wrapped around your mind, wrapped around your energy, it's constricting your vision. It's not allowing you to see beyond your current circumstance where the magic is. And it's also constricting your vision. It's constricting your perspective. It's not allowing you to expand, okay? So that's the first most fundamental piece to understand when it comes to shifting your vibrational frequency, is that when you are operating from victim consciousness, because, okay, what's going very fast here. Ultimately, the biggest shifts and changes happen when you step out of victim consciousness to, this is like my life, this is just how it is, like I always, I'm always ghosted, or this is always the same experience I have with men, or this is just men, or this is just how this is. Just using relationships because I think it's such a good example, because it's something that I hear a lot. This is just how it is for me. Like, the biggest changes and shifts happen when you finally step out of victim consciousness and step into accountability and step into the role of being a co-creator with the universe and recognizing your part in it. You play the biggest part in your own suffering. And that can be a big pill to swallow sometimes. But the biggest shifts and changes literally can happen instantaneously. The second you decide to call your power back and step forth from a different perspective, going from victim, everything's happening to me, poor me, blaming everyone and everything else, and then stepping into the role of, I can actually see where this is coming from. That is going to be the biggest game changer for you, is going from victim, poor me, into, I am taking accountability for this. I am willing to look within myself and see what the correlation is. Because once you bring something to light, it no longer has control over you. Therefore, once you bring awareness to a limiting belief, whether that's, thought forms or emotional density that you are harboring, that you haven't processed, things that have been unresolved, things that have been suppressed within you, the second you bring awareness to that, it can no longer constrict your energy. When you bring awareness to that, when you actually bring inner self-intuitive awareness to your own inner state, you can start making correlations and connections between the patterns that are showing up in your life and the areas that you feel stuck, in the areas that you feel like you can't expand. You look within yourself and you start to see where you are restricting your own energy. Because the second you bring that to light, the second is you are no longer bound to that identity. You are no longer bound to that version of yourself. You are no longer bound to that reality. You can finally cut ties with that experience and shift into a new one and shift into a new vibrational frequency. It all starts from within you, and you are the one who has these answers ready in your being. Your body, your being holds the answers to all of your prayers, to all of the areas that you feel stuck, all the things that you think aren't working out. Your being, your body literally holds the answers. But you need to recognize that. Like, you need to be aware of that. You need to realize that your reality, everything that you see in front of you right now, is a reflection of your own consciousness. It's a reflection of your own energy, of your vibrational field, of the unseen energy that you carry around you. So this leads us into the next one. I mean, I just love this shit so much, because this shit changed my life in so many ways. Like, so many ways. And what I'm also going to say to you is, yes, you can quantum leap like that, okay? You can step into a new vibrational frequency like instantaneously in a lot of cases, but in some cases things also take time. In some cases, the reality that you want is so big and so vast that it's going to actually take a few evolutions for you to get there, right? So I kind of just want to drop into a grounded perspective here before we dive into the next part of this. And that is that, yeah, give yourself the time and the grace. Like, the second you allow yourself to have time, like you're not rushing the process. You're not like, it needs to happen now. Like, it's really the second you're actually able to expand. Like, the second you take a time, like the time frame off, like, I need this to happen by tomorrow. I need this to happen so I don't feel the way that I'm feeling. Like, the second you take that pressure off is the second you're actually able to recognize like what is holding you back and expand forward. So you've got to remember that time in this physical realm, in this physical reality, doesn't operate the same way time essentially operates in the unseen, in the universal field of consciousness. Because in this physical reality, you'll find that it's the very last thing to catch up to an internal shift, to an energetic shift. It's the last thing to catch up. And that's why you should really just be focusing on your inner well-being, like on your internal state, because that's really what's going to move things in the physical realm for you. In the physical realm, it would appear to us when we're not using our third eye, when we're just using our physical eyes, it feels very slow because it's a denser in form, it's denser in energy in the 3D. So when you start tapping into higher vibrational frequencies, and when you start tapping into, I guess, the realm of the unseen, energy, manifestation, all that sort of stuff, you are essentially speeding up the rate in which things can happen for you in this physical realm, because essentially your energy is going to be doing the heavy lifting. When your frequency is aligned, like you can take an action in this physical realm and not get the result that you want. And that could be with anything. It could be dating, money, career, like anything. You could take an action and you keep meeting the same roadblock. It's not working. You keep having the same experience, keep meeting the same experience over and over again. The same pattern keeps showing up for you. All of a sudden you have the realization that maybe there's a correlation between that experience, and it's mirroring an aspect of you that is calling for your resolution, that's calling for your awareness. And once you have that awareness, you'll kind of have that epiphany, that awakening within you of an experience that is still being harbored in your body from the past. Essentially, there is a belief there is something there that is being mirrored back at you, because it's not personal. When something isn't going the way that you want it to in your external reality, it's not personal. It's not an attack. It's just a frequency adjustment that's required, right? And so then you can go, let's say, you start doing the inner work, you start uncovering the emotional density, the beliefs, those things within you that are actually not allowing you to have a new experience. You're shifting your vibrational frequency. It's instant in the energy realm. It's instant because there's no concept of time. Time is a construct in this physical reality, is what I'm trying to say. So then you've had the shift, okay? You've kind of undergone this inner miracle and you've shifted into this new vibration because there's an experience in your body or an identity that you are no longer defined by, that maybe you didn't realize. And by meeting that same roadblock is actually a gift from the universe to help you realize something so that you can then shift your vibration and step into the new experience that you desire to have. It's almost instantaneous. Like, I've had on one singular day where I have kept meeting the same experience with something, and okay, what is this showing me? Go within myself, uncover what is holding me back from within, kind of have the internal expansion, and then the next day go on to do something and have a totally different result. Like, many times, very frequently now, especially since I think I've been doing this work for so long, it starts to be a lot more rapid. There's a lot less resistance and a lot less ego when you're uncovering these things. You just have a greater capacity for it, and you're able to see a lot more clearly. But I think when you're first starting out, especially, sometimes it feels like it can take longer. There's bigger lags because I think there can be so much resistance towards uncovering something because it's uncomfortable, right? Because it makes us uncomfortable. When we start uncovering, or when something is making you uncomfortable, a lot of the time we want to run from it. We don't want to look at how we are playing a role in that. I was watching this video by Dolores Cannon yesterday. I think that's Dolores Cannon. I think that's her name. And she was a hypnotherapist, and she's saying how you're not you're the creator of your reality. You've written the script, you are continuing to write the script, you are the director, you are the actor, you are everything. Do you know what I mean? Everything in your reality that you're experiencing is essentially a manifestation of your own consciousness. So when we start to feel uncomfortable in life, often we don't recognize it means we're like right on the point of having a breakthrough, or right in the sweet spot where we're ready to uncover something about ourselves and see how that has been dictating a certain aspect of our reality, and really allows us to experience a shift in life and elevate to a higher frequency in a new version of ourselves. So that can happen instantaneously, right? But at the same time, I think when there's a lot of deeply rooted trauma and a lot of emotional density, this is when you have to give yourself the time and the grace, right? And I've been in both seats. I've been in a space where it's like very rapid, like I can kind of cut through the bullshit and get to the truth and the clarity much faster now, but that's just because of experience. But I've also had times where it felt like it took forever because I had trauma, I had emotional density in my body, and you actually cannot rush that type of healing. Like when it comes to more like uncovering limiting beliefs, it can be a lot faster, but when you're actually unpacking trauma and the nervous system response to darker and more negative experiences in life, that cannot be rushed. And I say that firmly because your body must be in a certain state of safety to be able to process certain things that have happened to you. So it's really important to recognize that this work goes so much deeper than you could ever possibly comprehend or recognize. I think at the beginning it's like scraping the surface until you start to uncover so much about just your baseline and where you have been existing from and the identities that you built to survive. Like when you start uncovering that shit, and I really feel like you have to be in a certain state of being to be able to do so. And I believe that these stages are very much like divinely guided. Like that is when you start to experience the most profound shifts ever, because you'll recognize that the ways in which you have been maybe behaving or acting or thinking or just even existing in your day-to-day life, just feelings of anxiety, feelings of stress, or just build up of kind of a negative state, you'll really start to unpack and recognize like what is being held in your body and your nervous system, and how maybe that just was normal for you. I think the biggest shifts and changes and the most beautiful things is not the things you can manifest. It's the state that you're able to achieve when you've been running and operating from fight or flight your whole life. I think the biggest win is actually just being able to exist in peace, not constantly feeling like you're walking around on eggshells and being worried about the projections of others, or having to soothe and neutralize other people's responses and reactions, and simply the knowing that the only thing you can control is yourself and your responses to life and to other people. And when you start to actually really control those responses, you start to really change the experience that you are having. Because think of your responses and your reactions as like script writing. The second you respond to something, you are choosing the timeline that unfolds from this point on. So when you react from something, you are choosing the timeline, most likely, of chaos or conflict. You are choosing more of that. When you choose to respond differently from a new story, when you choose to respond from the higher version of you that you are pulling in, you choose that, you solidify that. That can become real. I like to think of it sometimes as the people that maybe trigger us the most are like, they're almost like just trying to get you to change the story. I think it can be very easy to get into the mindset of, oh my God, like I fucking hate this person, I don't know, and start blaming them for everything. But it's like, actually, if you really, really, really look and you observe without the reactivity in your body, without the reactivity in your being, you will see that they are highlighting a very, very, very important story, a very, very, very important truth. And when you can step back from reactivity, keep choosing to feed the same story. When you're reacting, you're feeding the story, choosing the timeline, and choosing the timeline. You are choosing to stay stuck in a cycle and in a specific vibration. I can't even remember where I was going with that. It's like, I feel like it's just a second that you start responding differently. It's just the second that life starts to shift in accordance to that vibration, right? And I just feel like the people that are here to trigger us the most are like literally the universe trying to shake you and wake you up to yourself and be like, snap the fuck out of this. You know, look at what you are feeding and what part of you is feeding this. You know, you really have to always bring it back to you, bring it back to you, bring it back to you. Because the second that you start projecting onto others is the second you lose your power. It's the second you're giving away your power. You can feel uncomfortable. You can be like simultaneously experiencing discomfort in that moment. You know, whether it's someone or something that has triggered you, like you're allowed to feel that uncomfort, but it's how you choose to respond and the action you take from that space that becomes your defining moment, that starts to speak and show and reveal your true character and starts to reveal what is going on with you. Like, you're allowed to be emotional and feel uncomfortable about someone or something. Absolutely. That is the whole point. But that discomfort is actually guiding you right into the piece of you or the aspect of you that is ready to expand. That is no longer, that is binding you to an outdated identity. And a lot of people don't know that. There's so many people walking around taking everything as a personal attack, getting so triggered by everything, and they just create so much turbulence and so much chaos around them. And they can drag you into it if you are not so fucking mindful of your energy and what you choose to feed. And I feel like those people are the biggest, like, I don't even know what word I would use to describe them, but I just feel like they will teach you the most about yourself, like to have self-control. Because again, it's like so easy. The second you lower yourself to feed it is the second you are choosing a lower identity, I guess you could say. But the second you start to respond differently, and this is with anything from like a person or just an external situation, like something not working out the way you wanted it to, like the second you stop reacting and you start responding from the version of yourself you desire to be, that is how you quantum leap. You choose that version of you. You are choosing, you're saying, that's what I want, And so I want to lead this back to kind of like where I was going before I went into that whole segment. And that is about like how a limiting belief is created. Like, how is a limiting belief created? Because where people get stuck in the realms of manifestation and the law of attraction, I guess you could say, is they're only looking at one aspect of the self. They're only looking at the mind, the limiting belief, okay? So you might be trying to do affirmations, trying to start thinking positively, and all those things are great and don't necessarily do any harm, but they're not getting to the core. What lies underneath a limiting belief is an emotional experience that is unresolved in your body. And this is the part that most people don't want to look at, because this is the very thing that we spend most of our lives trying to avoid, not realizing it's actually the key to a better quality life, I guess you could say. So doing mindset work alone isn't going to get to the core. You're actually looking at the surface. So the way I see it and the way that my work goes and the way that I teach this is you are not just a physical being, okay? We've talked about that. Your physical body and your physical reality, like what you see with your physical eyes, like that's the reflection of everything else that you cannot see. So the first stack, I guess you could say, is your emotional body, because if you actually think about it, emotions are a very human thing. They're a very, very, very human thing. They're a very innate part of this human experiences. So to me, it makes sense that the emotions hold a larger volume of density and would be kind of the first layer on top of this physical vessel, right? So you've got your physical body, you've got your emotional body, then you've got your mental body. And then to me, I see like the vibrational frequency and the energy is kind of like around that. So again, your frequency is a reflection of the emotions and the beliefs that you have about yourself. And then your energy is a combination of that, and then it sends out the signal to the universal field of consciousness and then brings you back the experiences based on your inner state. So if you're just looking at, oh, how can I change my mindset? And then you keep reverting back to the old mindset, it's because you're not going deep enough. It's because mindset work is fucking bullshit, because it's just not getting to the core, and you shouldn't even really bother with it. Seriously. So what you want to do, because the mind honors the heart. And what is the heart? It's the feel. It's the feelings. The mind honors the heart. The mind bows to the heart. The heart is the feeling. It's the sentience of your being. So here's the key. Here's the juice. Next time you feel triggered and your mind is spiraling, you are never going to be able to think your way out of it, so don't even try. Do not try and think your way out of fucking anything, because you're going to just send yourself deeper into the realm of the mental world where you are imagining worst case scenario, because you're in the fight or flight state. You're in the lizard state. We've got the wizard state and the lizard state of the brain, right? Lizard state, fight or flight, survival, I'm going to fucking die. And the wizard state's the higher consciousness. It's like, okay, I'm going to remain neutral and I'm going to observe my experience, and that be that. And also being able to have that intuitive connection, because it's your intuition that is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. So when you're doing this inner work, your intuition is the piece of you that is guiding you between these aspects of yourself. Your intuition is the aspect of you that is helping you make the correlation between what's happening outside of you and how it is mirroring or how it's connected to something within you, right? So this is why you really have to trust your intuition and kind of learn how it speaks to you. And it's really the guiding light between what's happening out here and how it's connected to what's going on here. So self-connection is really, really, really important. Self-trust is really, really, really important, because you need to start utilizing that aspect of yourself to start really going between the worlds and figuring shit out, right? Putting the pieces together. So next time you have a limiting belief, or not a limiting belief, a trigger, so to speak. A trigger is a limitation, right? Because what's happening is a trigger is an illumination, right? It feels very uncomfortable, and it's so important to recognize, like so important to recognize this, right? Because we don't get taught this shit in school. We don't get taught it. We don't get taught the most important shit in school, and that's for a reason, because they want to keep our eyes just on the physical reality. They don't want us to realize the power of our awareness and the power of our consciousness, okay? It's on purpose that this shit is left out of the fucking rule book of life, yet this is the most life-changing shit. And you don't need a degree, you don't need anything to be able to do this. This is your innate ability, is to work with the realm of energy, okay? It's your innate ability. Oh my gosh, if I can do it, you can do it. Seriously. It's your it's your natural state. All right, so back to the juice. You have a trigger. This can go a little bit deep, okay? So I teach this in my Shift Your Frequency Masterclass. So if you are like ready to shift, like this all sounds like connected to you, like you feel a connection and you feel a vibrational or a soul resonance with what I am talking about, go to the link in my bio, depending if you're seeing, wherever you're seeing this, what's Instagram or YouTube. There'll be a link in the description box or something. Or if you're listening to this on my Apple Podcast, just go to my Instagram, Energy with Evie, and go to my bio in the link. Do the Shift Your Frequency Masterclass, because it is literally going to change your fucking life. Like it's all of this, but like way deeper. Okay? Because I can only go so deep here, right? Okay, so you've got your trigger, your limiting belief. That is the surface. And what I will also say is that fear creates illusions, right? So when you're triggered, you instantly go into a state of fear, right? You go into a state of fight or flight, or whatever your response is. We all have like different responses. You naturally go into that state. It could be like freeze, fawn, it could be fight, it could be whatever. That part of you is operating in fear. That part of you is scared. That part of you is scared of something. And fear creates illusions. And it doesn't allow you to see things clearly. You see from red, you see from fear, you see from a very, very heightened, and not in a good heightened, like not in a woo, yay. It's like you're seeing from a very heightened, like, what's the word? It's like you're in that, you've got that very sensitive perception, right? You are on the lookout for danger. You're scanning for danger. Why does this happen? This is happening because on the surface, it's a trigger, it's fear, but it's never what it seems. The trigger itself on the surface, the emotion that you're feeling, whether it's the anger, the fear, the reaction, the sadness, like whatever it is for you, that's just the surface. When you go underneath that, and you have to use your intuition to do this, when you go underneath that, you will find an experience that you had, right? So now we're not just like high, like on the surface. We've come down, okay? We are now in your body. We are in the subconscious mind where the boundaries of the physical reality and the energy world become blurred, okay? It's very hard to discern what is real and what is not real when we go into this aspect of the self. So you're down in your body now. It is now up to you to figure out and find the experience where this trigger and this belief are coming from. When you get triggered or you're experiencing a limiting belief, like you feel stuck, sort of thing as well. If you're just like, well, I'm going to go do something to make myself feel better, you are not going to be able to shift. You're not going to be able to get to the root because you're avoiding it. You're trying to make yourself feel better. This isn't like that's just a band-aid. So if you're going to go have a sauna, or you're going to go for a walk or do a meditation or breath work or any of those things, while those things have health benefits, they are band-aids. They are not you getting to the core of your stuff. They are not you getting to the core, to the roots of your experiences, which are the patterns and fabrication in which your reality is built upon. You are neglecting yourself. And I think that's a relief to hear. To me, it's a relief because I'm like, cool, I don't have to go do a bunch of shit that's pointless. Again, those things are not inherently bad, but they are not allowing you to get to the core of your experience. This work is done through self-awareness. Yes, you need to look after yourself. Yes, you can do all those things, but I'm just saying there's literally no point if it's just I need to make myself feel better. No, you need to sit with that discomfort. You need to sit with that aspect of yourself in order to gain the truth that is needing and requiring validation in your being. Now, it doesn't matter if that experience that's being harbored in your being didn't necessarily maybe play out the way that you felt it did. What matters is that that was the experience you had about something. And now this is how the limiting belief is created. A lot of the time it's childhood, but absolutely can be like beyond teenage years and early, and even now, so it really, there's no limitations on what age this experience can happen. Like I was having traumatic experiences still in my early 20s. So, it's not always about the inner child, but actually, to be honest with you, it is, because those traumatic experiences that I was having in my early 20s was stemming from the inner child. So it's like such a layer, piece by piece thing sometimes. So you have an experience, right? You have a negative experience. I'm just going to give the example as a child. you have the negative experience, or you have an experience, because we haven't got there yet. You have an experience and it's not a pleasant one. You're not, it could be like an adult yelling at you. There could be some sort of like abuse in some way. There could be anything. It could be like school, left out, bullying. Like it could be anything. It could just be a feeling that you have, like whatever. Like it could be honestly anything. There's so many different traumas and wounds that we can develop, right? So you have an experience, and maybe it was a more negative experience. And what happens is when you don't have the capacity to express, or the capacity or the safety to kind of express those emotions in real time, like at that point in time, they get stuck in the body. They get stuck. They remain unprocessed, because every emotion that we feel is meant to kind of flow through us. Emotion is energy in motion. So again, it's okay to feel things. That's not the problem here. The problem is that we didn't play out the emotional experience to the fullest capacity. It never did a full cycle. It started and then it like got stuck like halfway, and then, it needs to fully complete itself so it can leave the body. So you've had this experience, you've had this emotional experience, and a lot of the time as children, we actually don't understand our emotions, which makes it a little bit more difficult, because we feel things way more deeply as children than I think is possibly recognized, and how much we're absorbing from our environment as well. So it can also be like things that you've absorbed from your external environment, family dynamics, things like that, things that you witnessed, all sorts of things. So you've had this experience and you have these emotions. That's the first part. And they haven't done a full cycle within your being. So now they're stacking up in your body and your nervous system. They're creating density in your body. Well, they're creating density in your body and in your vibrational field. So that creates kind of a heaviness, right? It doesn't really allow us to elevate, because we're still carrying this weight. And the weight, essentially, because we've suppressed it and it hasn't completed a full cycle, it becomes the shadow, okay? It becomes what is no longer conscious. We've separated from ourselves in that moment because we didn't have the capacity or the understanding of what was really happening. And we took that experience and we made it mean something about ourselves. And we gave it self-meaning. If this is happening, it's because, I'm not enough, or, fill in the blanks here, right? But we assigned it meaning, because a lot of the things that you experience in your reality, like the things that trigger you or annoy you, it's because like you've assigned it meaning, like you're giving it meaning, like you're feeding it energy essentially. And so that plays a huge part in it. So you've had this experience, you've assigned it a meaning, right? Like you've attached a cord to that experience, but you aren't aware of it because you kind of just maybe get on with life. You don't realize maybe at freaking 6 years old or 7 years old, like how all of this stuff plays a part in the very reality that you are experiencing and living in, right? So you're having this experience. It's one that you are, tagging or like claiming as a negative one, but it's still in the body because it hasn't been processed. You suppress it, and what happens is your consciousness, right? So this is really, really deep, okay? Your consciousness is like whole, like when you're born. And when you have a traumatic experience and it remains unprocessed, your consciousness, it fragments, okay? It splits. Now, what happens is almost like an alter ego type thing. So that's the part of you that comes out when you're triggered. So have you ever noticed how when you're triggered, and this is especially for people that have had like very deep wounding, right? Like myself, for example, like a whole nother aspect of your personality comes out, like rage. Like you could say something that's just totally out of character. You're just acting totally out of your kind of most authentic character. And that's because there's an aspect of you that the brain created in order to survive. So in order to survive that moment, your brain created another personality or another aspect of the self in order to survive that moment. Because when you feel too much and you don't have the capacity to feel it, your body and your brain cannot handle it. It creates a separation to protect you, to essentially so you can survive. So that is how deep this work goes. So this is what I'm telling you, that when you're just freaking doing mindset work, oh my God, you're doing fuck all. You are doing absolutely fuck all. Excuse my language, but it's just like, you're really not doing anything. This is how freaking deep this shit goes. Like, and it's actually profound. So and what that does is it also creates a split in the fabrication of time. Right? It creates a split in the fabrication of time. And so that timeline is still existing because it hasn't closed. There's still an opening. There's still an aspect where that timeline is playing out because the door has not been closed, because there's still a connection from the emotions you are harboring to that reality, to that experience. It's still happening. And that is why you keep meeting the same pattern outside of you that's mirroring that very experience that you never processed. And that is trauma. It doesn't have to necessarily be something really, really, really extreme, like being physically abused or something like that. Absolutely it can. But I mean, like, it can honestly just be feeling too much as a child and not understanding your feelings like that. It can be that alone, you know? So it goes so much, it goes so much deeper than just mindset work. Holy. So you have to go into your being, right? And when you, so it creates a split in the consciousness, as we're saying. That trigger is a leak almost. So you start leaking your energy out to something. You start feeding that fear with your energy, and it's like a spiral. It's honestly so hard for me to put this into words sometimes. So I hope this is making sense. This is like the deepest I've ever gone publicly, okay? I normally only talk about this stuff was in like private sessions or master classes and stuff. So this is the deepest I've ever gone on a public forum about any of this. So here we are. This is really happening. So you go through that, where was I? You have the split in the consciousness and in the energetic field, and that is kind of the hole in which your energy and your life force leaves you, and there's a separation between you now and an aspect of you in the past, okay? So this is kind of where quantum healing comes in. When you go into your body and you sit with the discomfort that you're feeling, the next time, you're triggered or, something's happening, like it could be an external trigger. Well, it's always an external trigger. I mean, no, it's not always. Sometimes it just comes up. When it's not resolved, it just comes up, right? So anyway, just next time you feel this way, like a feeling that you've always had or something like that, you go into your body. And when you can close your eyes, it's kind of more of a reflection than a meditation. Because a lot of time meditation is like leaving. It's like, I'm going to a different place. It's like, no, you need to be here. Do not leave this. You need to be here. You go into your body and you will find the experience that is still playing out in real time, because this experience in the past is still being projected into your current reality. All right? It's the pattern that you keep meeting. It's the block. It's the restriction that you keep meeting. It's the contraction. It's the fear that you keep meeting. You cannot move forward because your body won't let you, because it doesn't feel safe to do so, because this experience from the past is still playing out in real time. Real time. Okay? Because everything, just because I'm sitting here at 10:12 a.m. on the 30th of March 2020, that doesn't mean anything. That's not real. What's real is the energy and everything that we're connected to. So, getting real serious here. So you go in and you need to retrieve the experience. You need to retrieve the version of you that's still stuck. Because you're not stuck. In this, today, I'm not stuck. I'm being held back and restricted by something I have not processed and resolved yet. That's not allowing me to expand forward. Okay, because it's a vibration. Because until I do, those experiences and those emotions that I have not processed are still existing in my vibrational frequency. And your vibrational frequency is a signal in which reality responds to. So you cannot move forward. If you can't move forward, this is why. I'm giving you literally the biggest juice. So you need to go into your body and you need to retrieve the experience, which means processing the emotion. You need to process it fully. It's like, look, we have a circle right here. You've done a half circle from like just having the experience. You need to complete the circle. You need to complete it by having the full experience, which means having the somatic release, which means releasing the emotions that you felt at that time, the darkness. Because that is what's being carried in the shadow and creating density in your body, in your energetic field, and casting illusions into your mind. So your perception is limited to that. Why? Because your body's keeping you safe. Because it's not until you resolve these aspects that you can move forward and you can shift your vibrational frequency in profound ways. And then what you'll find is the mind eases. When you have that experience, your mind lets go. So that's why just doing the mind, like, that's nothing. When you actually let go of the experiences that you are harboring, and I just explained it to you from like the higher realm perspective that I was taught from my own fucking future self or something. Like, you're essentially reliving the experience over and over again when you keep meeting the same pattern. And it's not personal. It's not an attack. The universe isn't trying to attack you. It's actually trying to guide you back to reclaim that aspect of yourself. Because when you do, and you allow those emotions to fully move through you, not only are you releasing, therefore naturally as you release, something new comes to fill its space. You are closing that fragmentation. So you step into a more whole, authentic version of yourself, and that trigger will stop showing up in your life because it's just simply guiding you into resolution. Okay, I always say that one of the universe's primary function is to create balance. Okay, and through creating balance through two opposing forces, it also creates growth. It creates expansion. So essentially what you're doing is you're bringing two aspects together. Your light, which is your awareness, your dark, which is your shadow. You're bringing them together, okay? Through your awareness, through your intuition, and then you create a change. You create a shift, okay? Light, dark is a catalyst for evolution. So that's really, honestly, the core of like shifting your vibrational frequency. Like if you want to experience those profound changes. And then there's also like the expansion that once you've really, I think that's the root of it for me. Like that's the core of it. So I'm going to leave it today because in the like coming episodes, I'll go definitely more into kind of quantum leaping and expansion and all that sort of stuff. Because this is the core, this is the root, this is the foundation of my teachings, this is the foundation of my knowledge, this is the foundation of my work. I just love this stuff so much. Actually makes me emotional because it's just changed my life. Like the versions of you that are still stuck in the past, they are stuck in an identity that you created. When you have an experience that like obviously you've assign negative meaning to, you've created an identity about yourself and I guess the life that you're able to experience. Like you feel not worthy. Like there's an identity that's just like I'm always going to be below other people, or I'm just never going to be enough, or I'm just not someone that good things happen to. Like these are identities that we are creating, and we really can't step into new identities until we've resolved everything that we have suppressed. And then when we kind of do that core work, stepping into new identities and claiming new identities and quantum leaping becomes a lot more rapid, a lot more lighthearted, trust me. But for those of you who are really in the thick of it, that is essentially what you need to be doing and what you need to be focusing on. Like this is no joke. Like And what I was saying about the balance stuff, the universe bringing things into balance, is every negative experience that you're having, every like bit of chaos that comes through your reality or conflict that comes through your reality, reframe it. It's not a personal attack. The universe is trying to reveal something within you so you can be brought into greater balance. That is all it is. But if we get sucked into the chaos and we get sucked into the conflict and we start feeding lower vibrational energies, we are not able to get to the very core of our own experience. And this is why you always need to stay in observer mode and be so mindful of what you are reacting and what you are feeding and how you are responding, because it's when you start responding differently to the external world that it starts responding differently to you. Because reality follows your signal. You are reality. And reality is not fixed. It is interchangeable in every single way. But you need to realize the core aspect of your being and the driving aspect of your behaviors, of your choices, of your thoughts. And you need to get to the root of where all of that is coming from. And that is how you will quantum up level your life, by closing out the doors that are still open from past experiences that you have not resolved or fully processed. It's by healing. And it doesn't mean you have to stay stuck in the trenches forever. You're only in the trenches if that is what you think, if that is what you are giving meaning to, or you can come into observer mode and just see that you are healing years and years of stuff in such a short amount of time compared to, like, you know what I mean? Like, literally it was only yesterday I went through, like, I had this whole, like, as always, like, we are always growing, learning, and evolving. I'm still doing all of this stuff because I'm always evolving into the next version of myself, right? It's so exciting to me that there's just so many things that I get to experience, you know, so long as I'm willing to meet the discomfort with awareness and, you know, gain deeper understanding of myself and the connection and correlation between myself and my reality, right? And knowing that you're allowed to choose differently. Like, how fucking cool is that? Like, a lot of the time you'll find that the things that you feel obliged to do is coming from somewhere deeper. Some of the choices that you are making are coming from somewhere deeper. You get to choose differently. And choosing differently can feel very uncomfortable for a while, can feel very, very, very uncomfortable. Choosing something new, choosing to set a boundary, choosing to say no. All of that feels so uncomfortable when you first start doing it. But then you start to realize that you have free will and you do get to make choices that reflect the reality that you desire. You know, so much of it comes down to choices and decisions. And you get to choose. So that's why it's like, choose fucking wisely, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the choices from the past, like, we can't go back in time. And a lot of those choices you made and experiences you had made you who you are. So it's like not shitting on yourself for things that you did in the past, because, like, that's just not helpful to anyone. It's like recognizing that, like, that was part of your experience, that's part of your lessons, and it made you who you are. Like, you wouldn't be the unique, authentic, quirky being that you are, you know, if you didn't go through those experiences, even ones that maybe weren't from your best self sort of thing, you know what I mean? So all of these experiences, you know, I think it's about coming from a lighthearted aspect as well. It's like recognizing the impact they've had, but also it's like, well, I love who I am now, so I wouldn't change a fucking thing, you know? I look back at some things and I'm like, how did I even do that, you know? But I did, and that it's done. So, you know, I'm not going to keep going back because I have resolved the aspect of myself that those choices stemmed from. Do you know what I mean? Because the emotions that you're carrying, like, they literally alter your brain chemistry. Like, they will influence you to do certain things in order to gain a sense of validation or to gain a sense of safety, especially if we're looking at kind of relationships and the choices we make around that, you know? Ultimately, so much of it's just about, like, sitting in the discomfort and recognizing where things are coming from. Like, that's all it is. And yeah, for some it goes like, for me it went far deeper than, but it's about going into your body and understanding that you have those answers. Your body is the gateway. Use your intuition to guide you and take you back to the first time you felt this way, and ask yourself, where is this coming from? Trust what you receive. Feel the emotions coming to the surface and allow that experience to actually pass through you. And that is how you shift, because now the limiting belief doesn't have anything to stand on, because that limiting belief didn't just come from the mind. It didn't come from nowhere. It developed from something. So when you can just acknowledge, yeah, I'm feeling really limited in this aspect of my reality, like maybe relationships, finances, income, like, I don't know, anything, creativity, business, like whatever it is. Like I feel, just acknowledge. You just have to acknowledge, like, yeah, I'm feeling really limited in this experience. I'm just acknowledging that I feel that way, and that's okay. And then go deeper. And then, like, where is that coming from? Because again, like I said, the mental body adjusts to the emotional body. Okay. So when you can release that aspect of you, release that past experience, release something that you suppressed and express it. It's like taking from what was suppressed to expressed. That limiting belief no longer exists, because that experience no longer exists in your body. It exists in the like records of time, but it's no longer existing and playing out in your body. The limiting belief dissolves naturally. You no longer have this constriction around you. Your nervous system opens, because you've gone from being closed off, suppressed, and restricted, and you open. And when that happens, your perspective expands and you see things with clarity. You see things from truth. So I think that's everything we want to dive in. I'm just like, this has been an hour long. It's like the longest podcast episode I've ever done. I just love this shit so much. Like, I can talk about this for another 3 hours, but I am going to end this here. Thank you so much for dropping in with me. And I'm just so grateful to be doing this. And I'm so grateful if you've dropped in to listen. And if you are here, I'm just really, really grateful. I'm just, it makes me so emotional to think like how far I have come. I am, right, like the version of me that you see right here or listening to, like I always wanted to be this version. It's taken me, it didn't take long to get here. It was my own resistance to it that took long. Do you know what I mean? A lot of the time it's right there. It's available to you. Everything exists in the universal field of consciousness, but we have resistance to it. Why do we have resistance to it? Because we have negative and limiting beliefs around ourselves and our lives, because these deeper experiences are still being harbored and suppressed in the body. And that creates resistance towards the things that you desire, because XYZ, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel enough, like you can't do that, it's too scary, like la la, all the things. So when you start cutting through, it's like getting a sword and just cutting through all the shit. Your resistance is far less. It doesn't have as much power of you. It's like, oh, I can feel the resistance, but I can actually hold it. And then I can move forward. But when you still have all that deeply rooted shit, you really just have to go through that process. So anyhow, we're going to go more into the expansion side of things and the resistance side of things in the next episode. But yeah, that's it from me. Thank you so much for dropping in. I'm sending you guys so much love, and I will catch you in the next episode.